the fan hotline here. Nathan Zegura, Browns analyst, to talk Shedeur start on Friday, how the other rooks looked, and, of course, a look ahead at the Eagles' joint practices in the preseason game against Philly. Nathan, welcome to the show, bud.
Thank you. Good to be with you guys.
Well, it's great to have you here. I guess we'll start. Thoughts on Shedeur's start on Friday?
Yeah, I thought he looked good. I mean, I think there are throws probably and decisions that he, wants back, and there certainly is room for improvement. But I thought overall he showed great poise. He showed the things that you saw on tapes that you liked about him in college, right? The ability to layer throws, the incredible accuracy at all levels of the field, calmness in the face of pressure. If you look at breaking it down after the fact, his quarterback rating against pressure was over 100. A quarterback rating against the blitz was over 100. And then there are a lot of questions about him in the intermediate game, 10 to 19 yards in the air. His quarterback rating there was a perfect 158.3. Could he be under center? I thought he answered all of those. And I think if you break down I'm going to give you 4 plays that I really, really liked what he did. Actually, I'll give you 5. The first touchdown, that's the elite ball placement, right? The ability to throw it at the exact moment in the exact location he had to, layering it over the corner who kind of sloughed off of his responsibility and in front of the safety to Caden Davis in a window about the size of a football. Incredible accuracy. Then the second touchdown, the pocket movement. Sees the blitzer coming unblocked. He knows Amani Marshall's going to get over there, slides to his right, resets his feet, and then throws a strike low and away to Caden Davis where only he can get it for a touchdown. That was a great one. The third down throw to Gage Larmadan out of his own end zone. A couple of guys bearing down on him. That's about 30 yards in the air. Absolutely ripped. Big time throw. And then I thought from the play action game, the one where he gives play action, he finds Brendan Bates on a leveled concept, reads it top down as he's supposed to, layers the ball in nicely there. We talked about the one where he scrambles out, directs it to Luke Florio. It was a great play, but I'm going to go for a simple 2-yard gain. When they ended up getting the third touchdown, he's in the pocket. His first read's not there. Second read's not there. It's collapsing. Instead of panicking, he calmly checks it out to the right to Travion Williams. Only picks up 2 yards. If you're looking at the stat sheet, it doesn't show much, but I don't know if he does that earlier in the game. As he settled down, he really was getting through his progressions, and that allowed them to run the ball in on third down, and then on fourth down, they get in on the jet sweep. So just overall, very encouraging. There's no doubt he has the it factor. He's got the poise, the charisma, and then obviously the accuracy we saw on tape certainly carried itself over. So I thought a very encouraging debut for Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, I love how you say he's got the it factor. Nathan, for me, what stood out the most was just the idea that he looked so comfortable, and it looked like he just had been playing in that type of game and that type of setting his whole entire life.
I mean, when you grow up the son of a famous person like Deion Sanders, and everywhere you go, he's had a spotlight on him. Think about it. Game day was at Colorado. He's had a lot of big spotlights on him the last few years, and this felt like that. This was, you knew that the football world was watching. I mean, think about it. His performance in that game, good or bad, was going to be the lead story on every national football show, on television, in any medium on Monday. And he knew that, and went out there and turned in an excellent performance, and it certainly was. Nobody's talking about Cam Ward. He guy's the first pick of the draft. There was a 5th-round pick, second quarterback taken by his own team, and yet he's kind of captivated everybody. There are a lot of people certainly pulling for him. There was a lot of irresponsible and, quite frankly, ignorant discourse last week. The Browns were setting off to fail, which was completely ridiculous. And then you saw him go out there with the guys he had been getting reps with, and put in a strong performance. So I thought it was great.
All right, Nathan, one of the big talking points was the operational stuff, right? I'm not in the huddles. I'm not a man of your stature with all the.
I'm not in the huddle.
I bet we can make that happen if you want. I'm just curious though, from what you've heard operationally, how did Shedeur handle that kind of stuff?
Yeah, like in the pregame show on News 5 Browns Countdown, that's what I said. There are 2 things that you're judging Shedeur Sanders on today, or you want to evaluate. Pre-snap operation, post-snap. Post-snap, we just talked about it. Like pre-snap, I thought he was excellent. Guys were lined up in the right place. We didn't need to call any timeouts. He was getting to the line of play call out, getting to the line of scrimmage with plenty of times. He looked very comfortable with the timing and the rhythm of everything. Now, there were a couple of pre-snap penalties in the second half. That's when you got the third-team offensive line in there, and clearly those guys were a little antsy, and that kind of got off at that point. But he overcame that, and I thought for the most part the third-team offensive line, in terms of protection, did do a good job. But I thought he was very good there, and I know that the Browns thought he was very good there. I think he really applied himself to this game He's a gamer, there's no doubt. And yeah, that was encouraging. Does it change? As I said, in many ways, this game changes everything and at the same time changes nothing. I don't think it necessarily moved where he is on the depth chart. I think the starting competition, as I've always said, was between, Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco. And I think, the injury to Kenny Pickett, if he's not able to go fully in Philadelphia this week, that's going to kind of end that competition right there, because you can't miss 4 weeks of training camp. You just can't and be the starter on a new team. So Joe Flacco, I think will get the nod if that continues in that path. And then as far as the rookies go, both of these guys, developmental guys, obviously they picked Dylan first. Dylan's had a few more opportunities this off season. And, I think that'll continue to be the case. But in the sense of change, what Shedeur Sanders is something that cannot be dismissed. It cannot be ignored. It's a step. He's got to keep making the right steps. But if he does, as I believed all along, Shedeur Sanders has the ability to be the answer at that position for a franchise that certainly is looking for the answer.
All right, we're going to get into some of the positive rookie performances, including Schlesinger, but I do got to ask you about one that's kind of confusing for a lot of fans because you study this and you go deep in depth with it. Mason Graham, PFF ranked him 26th out of 30 Browns defenders on this list. I thought he looked really good. I thought there was a lot of positive moments with him. Obviously, the moment with Robert Hunt, where he just gets pushed backwards and then just falls down. Not great, all things considered. But do you see it the same as PFF, or did you see it differently that Mason Graham had a much better display than what maybe they led us to believe?
Yeah, I thought he was getting doubled a lot. And I thought, on the touchdown, for example, that Bryce Young threw, he basically took two guys into the backfield. Now, Bryce Young was able to escape and break contain out to the right. But again, he's on the interior. His job is to collapse that pocket. I thought he did that well. Yeah, Robert Hunt was a Pro Bowler last year. So you're going to get to learn some things as you go through the games. But I thought overall, I thought Mason was very positive. I know the Browns were very happy with his performance as well. And then you mentioned Carson, 13 snaps, 6 tackles, 4 solo tackles. The guy led the nation in solo tackles a year ago. Not surprised. He's everywhere. I got a little nervous when it looked like he got his toe kind of caught in the turf there on the incompletion to McMillan when he did 3 too many jukes on that slant route. And Bryce Young's pass kind of whizzed by him before he could get his head around. But I thought, very impressive from Schlesinger, very impressive from Mason Graham. And then the rookies on offense, Fannin and Dylan, they weren't out there very much. They were certainly not asked to do a whole heck of a lot in this game, as I think that, as things stand right now, they're going to be very involved in the regular season.
All right, so beyond the 3 rookies we've talked about, what are the names that stood out most to you on Friday?
On defense, I thought it was great to see Alex Wright back and with the starters, and he did a great job, got the sack, had another near sack. So I thought I was very impressed with what I saw from Alex Wright. I think if you're looking for an undrafted free agent that's got a chance to make this team, Aiden Huntington is the name I would pay attention to. He had a sack of himself. He's everywhere, was dominant on special teams. Guy's kind of a hybrid defensive end, defensive tackle, but also was a linebacker earlier in his career in college. So an interesting kind of athletic profile, similar to Sam Kamara, but 5 years younger. And I know the Browns like what they saw from him. Julian Aquara is going to be an interesting one because and ultimately you can't carry 6 defensive ends, but another 2 sacks in his return to his hometown in Charlotte. He's been terrorizing, our tackles, our 3rd string tackles, 2nd string tackles, all training camp. I thought he had a very nice showing as well. And then another would be Nick Needham on the defensive side. Nick Needham, a veteran, has slot experience. I thought of the slot corners out there, Cam Mitchell, Miles Harden, Nick Needham. I thought Needham looked the best, obviously came up with the big interception. And so he's somebody that could build a little momentum and try to make this football team. Because right now, I think our cornerback situation after Denzel and Greg Newsome is murky at best.
Yeah, I thought Needham looked really good. I thought Cam Thomas also looked good. Former 3rd round pick. He just had a good game.
Yeah, and he was good for us last year. He had a sack, makes plays in the backfield. I know the coaches love him, and that's why I mentioned Aquara and I mentioned the numbers game because, Mills, Isaiah McGuire, Alex Wright, Joe Tryon, Shoyinka, I think those 4 are locks. We're going to carry 5, so it's Cam Thomas or it's Julian Aquara, KJ Henry. I think Cam Thomas is probably the favorite at this point for that spot, but Aquara has been playing really well. And who knows, maybe the Browns will have, a trade partner come calling because I think we have too many defensive tackles and defensive ends right now to make this roster.
Nathan Zegura, Browns analyst on the Fan Hotline here, breaking down not just preseason game number 1, but the path forward for the Cleveland Browns in the preseason. So This week, joint practices with the Eagles. For you, what are you most excited about these joint practices and what we might find out about this team?
Well, this is a real measuring stick, right? You're going against the defending Super Bowl champions. You're going to get a lot of starters on Wednesday and Thursday. And then I think the game will be similar to Carolina, a lot of 2s and 3s going the whole way. I think it'll be our first, opportunity to see Dylan Gabriel and some meaningful teamwork as well. But I'm excited to see Joe Flacco. I'm excited to see our offensive line against their very good defensive line and our very good defensive line against their very good offensive line. So I think the trenches will be very interesting. And this is one where you want to go and you want to say, look, we can hang, right? We can hang. We can be on this level. Back in 23, we went there and had a good day one. I think day two, the Eagles certainly got the best of us. But, maybe that was a harbinger. That was a Browns team that ended up going to the playoffs that year despite a lot of adversity. So hopefully we can go out there and have a strong showing. But I think it'll be a real good work for our ones against, the defending Super Bowl champs. That's coming off last year, best team in the National Football League. So I think that'll be really, really good work for us.
If healthy, would you project out the preseason snaps for quarterback to just be Dylan Gabriel and then Shedeur Sanders?
In the game against the Eagles?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think probably if Dylan's able to go, I think he'll get in there. And then I think Shedeur, I think those are the two that you want to see, right? I don't know if the Browns treat the third preseason game as a little bit of a dress rehearsal, maybe that's where you'll see, some of the starters, and maybe that's where you'd see Joe Flacco get some reps. And we still don't know if Kenny Pickett's ready to go at that point. But I think in Philly, you're not going to see starters. I think it'll be the two rookies at quarterback.
Nathan, I had to tell on myself last week, your boy Jeff Jarrett was at the restaurant across the way. And I was not expecting it. I was getting ready to go for a walk, and I nerdily approached him while he was eating just to say, big fan, Double J, and walk away in shame. So if Jeff ever tells you about a big weird guy that happened to introduce himself in Cleveland, please let him know that I am not indicative of the rest of Cleveland.
First of all, I'm sure he was very kind and gracious with it because he's just a great dude like that.
He really was.
You should have told him that you knew me.
I froze.
We were texting right after the game. He was fired up about Shedeur. He was fired up about Cam Ward and what he did in his debut with the Titans. So huge football fan and just a great, great guy, even though he did hit me with a guitar.
I will tell you, I froze so hard. Yeah, like I interviewed Hulk Hogan once upon a time. Mick Foley was like my hero at 13. Met him, did not freeze. I see Double J, and I think it was I was already on my walk mentally. I think I was he was just starting to eat, and I think the guilt got me. And I also think I just was ill prepared, and it just all the cool points were out the window, buddy. I guess I'm just a big nerd.
It happens. Don't worry about it. That's fine. Listen, Jeff Jarrett, a fine human being, nothing wrong with that. I'm sure he'll be cool.
He asked you about Cam Ward. So what did you make of Cam Ward and then Jackson Dart? Were you impressed? I thought both looked pretty good, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I thought both did look good. And, Cam Ward was, by all accounts, the consensus number one quarterback in this draft. I thought that he did a lot of stuff that you see on tape in college, right? That you're like, oh, that's not going to translate. Remember when Mahomes came in? Oh, he drifts back 20 yards. Well, when you have an arm like that, you can drift back 20 yards. I thought he seemed to be in good rhythm with Calvin Ridley. He looked a lot like I thought he would look. The guy can absolutely throw the football. And then Jackson Dart was the guy that I didn't really even know what to make of his tape. There was some that was so good and some that was so bad. It was mind-boggling. And I thought that, you saw a lot of the good there. Definitely a good athlete. Wasn't surprised by his ability to use his legs. He can throw a nice deep balls. We saw on the touchdown pass that I think he audibled or at least checked into that vertical route. Yeah, a good showing from both of those guys. Both of them looked good. And I'd say like a lot of people thought, for example, at the combine, the consensus top three quarterbacks in this draft, first of all, it was Cam Ward was 1, Shedeur was 2, and then 3 was Dart. There are a lot of people that, were bandying about Tyler Shuck. I'd say those top 3 guys look like the top 3 guys. I thought they all looked good.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to talk over the whole damn. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So with Quinshon Judkins on the uncertain pile, I am all in on who's going to be the third running back coming out of this. Can I get a vote for Amani Marshall, the kid out of App State, who I think looks really, really darn good?
As the third running back on the roster?
Yes.
I mean, I think if things didn't change, but I do think that there is optimism that things will be resolved in a positive direction, and Quinshon Judkins will be back. So if that was the case, it's going to be Judkins and Ford and Dylan Sampson. But obviously, that all have the legal process has to play out all of that. So there's a question mark there. I would say, if not, he'd be certainly in a competition with Pierre Strong. And I talked about the defense, other guys whose names and who caught my attention. Amani Marshall caught my attention. I thought he did a nice job running the football between the tackles, also showed the ability to bounce it outside. Was a little late on the blitz pickup on Shedor's second touchdown, but did get over there and got enough the defender to allow Shedeur to make the play. I liked him a lot. I think he's somebody who will stay in the program. So maybe not on the active 53, but on the practice squad. I also thought Tawa, I like the way he ran. He was north-south physical as well. He looks good. Luke Whippler had a standout game. I think if you talk to anybody in the building, Luke Whippler was incredibly impressive. They are thrilled because they had very high hopes for him before he got hurt last year. And he's somebody that I think will be the center of the future for the Cleveland Browns. So he was very good to see. And I think the tight ends, Bates and Canella, maybe we'll only carry 3 on the 53, and one of them or both of them will be on the practice squad, but they look good. Gage Larvidan continues to make plays. And again, I don't know if there's room on the 53 because when you start doing the numbers, like it's math. It is 53. So when you take out the specialist, that's 50. We're typically 26 on the defensive side, so that's 24 on offense. So, and if we carry 4 quarterbacks, which I think we will, it's hard to find you can't have a 6th receiver, a 4th tight end, a 10th offensive lineman. You just can't have a 4th running back. You can't have it all. So there are going to have to be some tough decisions that are made there at those spots.
To the practice squad, Nathan, we appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nathan.
You got it, guys. Thank you.
Nathan Zegura, Browns analyst on the Fan Hotline.